The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Welcome back and happy Saturday to everyone out there. I'm Sam McBride, here with Custody Queen Kristen Holstrom and needs no introduction, Carrie Block. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So nice to have you guys.
Happy to be here.
All right, so today we're going to go into one of our favorite shows, or Kristen and I's favorite type of shows, which is emailer questions. We love to go through these. Please keep them coming. They're so fun, and I think it's one of our favorite shows.
Yeah, and remember, nothing is off limits. I mean, I guess maybe some things, but
we'll let you know.
Yeah, we're pretty open, so send them, and we try to get to as many as we can. But I love the questions.
All right, so before we get into, actually, the first question's for Kristen.
We're just getting right into it.
Yeah,
okay,
we're just getting.
All right.
We're just getting. My note says I have a question for Kristen, so we are going straight into that. With the holidays approaching, what is your Thanksgiving tradition in your home, and what do you look forward to?
I love Thanksgiving. It is literally my favorite holiday of the entire year. And you know why? Because I don't really cook. So I just, pick up some really good sides and pies from the experts.
Crockpot Kristen.
Yeah, no, I usually go get mashed potatoes from Wood Ranch, and then I put it in a bowl like I made it, and then I get the rolls, and then I always go get pies from either Cheesecake Factory or Polly's Pies. But I don't really cook, so I don't have that stress. And there's no gifts.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not a holiday that stresses me out like many of the holidays, like birthdays and Christmas and all of the other holidays. It's just about being with your family and wearing sweats. I really hope it's super cold and enjoying just like doing nothing. And that is my favorite thing about it. And watching football, of course. I think the Packers play on Thanksgiving, but I'm actually pretty sure that's Dallas. But anyways, I like watching football on Thanksgiving. My favorite thing is we always go get our Christmas tree on the weekend, Thanksgiving weekend. And so I am really excited to do that because there's just something about the pine trees and the music. It just makes you reset and pause and enjoy all of the holidays around that time of year with the people that mean a lot to you.
How is it already almost Thanksgiving?
It's crazy. Carrie, what do you do during Thanksgiving and then the holidays?
So this is one of the first years that my kids are both going to be and are in California, so we'll all be together. I mean, we're always with family, and I, like you, do not normally cook, but I do cook on Thanksgiving, which a lot of people question because I cook so little the rest of the year. I'm lucky my husband helps out, but we have the whole family over. There's a lot of football watching and hanging out and just being together, which is always really nice.
It is. Sam?
So for Thanksgiving, my uncle always has Thanksgiving, so we go up there to Solana Beach, which is really nice. Probably say one of the favorite things we do, literally everyone brings a turkey. My stepdad's out of control. There's like a turkey off always.
Does he deep fry it?
Some years, and sometimes it comes out bad, but it doesn't matter because there's so many turkeys. But yeah, it's just a bunch of fun. After we eat, we normally play like some version of a board game. We kind of pick a different one every year, but it's just nice to see everyone. So looking forward to that.
If you want a good dice game that everybody can play and that doesn't have a lot of rules, it's Farkle.
It's a good game.
It is super fun. Everyone can play from Hudson all the way up. It gets very competitive, especially my dad, Dane, gets a little, competitive with the Farkle.
Your dad gets competitive?
And I have to remind him that we're playing with Hudson and Presley and my nieces and my nephews. But yeah, it's family friendly, super fun. All right, let's get into it. Let's go right into the questions because I don't want to run out of time and I want to do as many as we can. So I'm going to start. I'll ask the question to both of you. Hello, ladies. My husband and I have been thinking about separating. When it comes to our finances, I'm afraid that it may get messy because my parents passed away last year and I inherited a good sum of money, but my parents stipulated in their will that the money was for me and not him. Is my inheritance excluded from our assets because it was given to me?
Go ahead, Carrie.
I can go for it. So in California, there's community property and there's separate property. An inheritance, if it's left to just you, just the individual, is your separate property. You need to be able to trace it and show that it's where the money's gone and what form it's in. But if it's kept and traceable, then yes, it goes back to you and it's your separate property.
And just to add to that, kind of a tip is exactly what Carrie's saying. Although an inheritance is your separate property in California, the biggest issue potentially in any case is tracing and characterizing that as your inheritance. So probably don't put it in your joint bank account. If you keep it separate, it's going to be a lot easier for you if you want to basically characterize that and confirm it to you.
Yep, I was going to say the same thing to both of them. Just if you're getting it from an account, try not to commingle it with maybe the money from like your marriage or either one of you like that you make from your job. Try to keep it separate. And if you don't have a will or a trust, get it done. Because if something were to happen to you, you want to make sure that your family or your kids are protected as well. So it's just a little plug to make sure that you are taking that step. And I know that that is super, super important.
All right, next email. Hi, Queens. My name is Jessica. I love your show. Hi, Jessica. Thanks for listening. My fiance and his ex-girlfriend have a 5-year-old daughter together. He was recently convicted of armed robbery and assault with a deadly weapon. She is currently serving a 5.5-year sentence. My fiance wants to have full legal custody of their daughter without her mother ever having rights to her. Is this even a possibility?
Just to confirm, it was the child's mother.
That's what I misunderstood too.
Me too. It was the mom that just got convicted.
Yeah, I think that's the essence of this, is that the mother in this case is convicted of armed robbery.
Okay, got it.
And she's in jail right now.
Correct.
So that's one of those circumstances that a court's likely to give the father sole legal custody, sole decision-making power, because it's not like when there's these decisions to make, he can easily contact mom. She's in jail, prison, he can't get in touch with her. So in all likelihood, the court's going to give him sole legal custody and probably sole physical custody right now too. That could change in the future if she gets out, but for right now, that's probably what a court's going to do.
And I would just have a couple follow-up questions. For instance, do we know how long mom is going to prison? That won't have a huge impact on what the court orders right now, but that's just something that I would want to know long term. But you should file an ex parte if this is something that's happening, immediately. Is she being turned over and reporting to prison like tomorrow, or is it 3 months out? But you would want to discuss that with your attorney, and then the appropriate paperwork would need to be filed. And like Carrie said, a parent being in prison is usually one of the reasons that a court will grant sole legal and sole physical custody.
Yeah, and just to finally add to that, the court's going to retain jurisdiction or the ability to make an order over that child until that child's 18. So this is a moment in time, and I'm not suggesting that the mother in this case should have any type of custody. We don't know enough information to know that at some point in the future, but the court can change their orders. They may temporarily give you legal or physical custody, and at some later date and time down the road, some change of fact happens that would warrant maybe modifying it. So it's not a termination of parental rights. It's a temporary order that could be in place for 10 years or the rest of the child's minority.
And if you want more information, you can call us at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. And we can go into this in a little bit more depth and possibly even move forward with helping you, making sure that this is executed to perfection.
Thanks, Kristen. Okay, next question.
Hi, Queens. My name is Andy from Sherman Oaks. I'm not sure what to do. My ex and I have recently separated, but he keeps contacting me over the smallest of issues with our current home. I've moved out and the home is his responsibility. I think he's trying to remain in contact with me. Is there anything else I can do to legally have him stop contacting me?
It depends to what level we're talking about. If someone's harassing you and bugging you and sending you multiple texts, emails throughout a day, that could rise to the level of harassment and it could lead to a restraining order. If it's just a few questions here and there that they're asking, maybe just start out by asking nicely that they stop. And if that doesn't work, then tell them to consult your attorney and have their attorney speak to your attorney.
Yeah, I think there was a twofold that I saw in this question is one, A, the house, that's where I thought it was going, and B, the contacting you. And just like Carrie said, is it rising to the level of harassment? Is it invading your privacy? Is it 100 text messages a day? Is it, maybe one every 3 days where he's telling you that you left items in the house and, what are we going to do with those? And if you don't have any children and you let him know that you don't want him to continue contacting you, or if you want it done in email, then at some point you could block him.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Now, if you have kids, I wouldn't recommend that route because you'll have to be able to co-parent aside from the separation. But that's kind of where I would go.
I think that's really well put. And I know that Kristen and I talk about this a lot on our show, but if you do have children and you're in this situation, you're not necessarily without potential help. So you could request that some sort of parenting portal, there's a bunch out there, is used so you have an avenue to directly communicate regarding your children, health, education, welfare, but not those other issues. So you don't have to just keep communicating with someone because they're your ex. You just don't.
And with the house, I know that wasn't the specific question, but we would love to know more. If just because you're physically leaving the house, I would want to know, did you purchase that, while you were together? Just because you moved out of a house doesn't necessarily mean that you lose any interest or property right to the home. But I know that wasn't your question, so I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to ask that you give us a call at 1-800-419-7772, and we can finish this discussion.
So our next question is, hi, Sam and Kristen. This may be a silly question, but here it goes. How is the legal separation date determined? Is it a date you decide to separate, the day someone moves out, or the date a lawyer was contacted? Thanks, ladies.
All of those things that person mentioned come into determining what the date of separation is. And many, many more factors come into it. It's not the date you move out. People could live together for a long time and still be considered separated. There's what I like to say a subjective and objective component to the date of separation. Subjectively, one of the parties decides in their mind that this is the date the marriage is over and there's no hope and I'm done. And objectively, you start acting that way and verbalize it. You tell your spouse, you tell other people, children, and you start taking steps towards being separating bank accounts, maybe no longer celebrating holidays together. Moving out could be one of those things, but there's so many factors that a court will look to determine that.
Yeah, I kind of look at the public perception test, which is just in line with what Carrie was talking about. Are you guys still intimate? Are you going to marriage counseling? Are you seeing a therapist? Are you holding hands? Are you walking to dinner? There's a very big difference between those things and, co-parenting and going to a soccer game together, but sitting, maybe on the opposite sides. But the court will look at a lot of things. And the date of separation can be very relevant when determining, spousal support, the length of it, how long was your marriage, was there a big, did someone come into money, around whether or not the date of separation has actually been determined. But for other cases, if you've been married for 12 years and there's no big money component to that date of separation, a day or two difference is not going to make a big deal. And then on the flip side, we've had cases that have had, a 5-day trial on determining what is the actual date of separation.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point. And I don't think it's a silly question. It's actually a really important question in family law. Some of you might be thinking, why are we talking about the date of separation, or why does that matter? The reason that the date of separation matters so much is because that's the date that the community ends. And so in California, with the community property state, we are trying to figure out when the marriage started and when the marriage ended so that we could determine how to divide assets. So it is a very important question. Thank you for asking it.
Yeah, and when we do consults, it'll be interesting because someone will say, in my head, as Carrie was talking about the subjective test, I have told this person I don't want to be married anymore. I have told all my friends that our marriage is over. I created a dating, profile on a dating app. But then the intimacy continues and you're still going to therapy trying to reconcile your relationship. So those are two pretty big extremes that, if there is a legit date of separation concern and issue, those will be very big issues. And I think, isn't it one of the cases the court found that one of the spouse is still doing laundry for the other person was a factor in determining the date of separation.
And in that case in particular, they were living in separate houses. And I think actually the husband was living on a boat, but he'd bring his laundry home once a week or so, and wife would do the laundry, and the court said, well, they were still married at that point. So the court tends to, and the trend has been, to push towards a later date of separation when it comes up. So you want to take steps if you really think you're separated to make it clear. Definitely, well, we shouldn't say always, but filing for divorce is a usual indicator that you're separated at that point.
Usually a bright line that you're telling the whole world that you do not believe that your marriage can resume.
All right, before we get into the next question, I want to ask both of you guys, have you gone to any restaurants lately that you guys are really into? Any food or anything that we should share with our listeners?
So my husband and I live in Corona Del Mar, and we just moved there about 2 years ago. And it's really nice because we'll just randomly walk on PCH and pick a restaurant. And one of our favorite ones is Side Door. It's attached to Five Crowns there, if you're familiar with the area. But it's kind of more a gastro pub, and it's just more relaxing.
Like small
and
plates?
Smaller place, and just more relaxing. And it's really nice on a Friday night after a long week of being in court and working to just walk down there, have a nice glass of wine and a good dinner.
And build a charcuterie board.
Oh yes, you can build the charcuterie boards with them.
Yeah, those are fabulous.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really go out to restaurants very often.
Might be those three children.
I'm like, what new DoorDash place have I tried? With my schedule and the craziness and just having 3 kids, I've learned that every time we go out, it's several $100s, and I usually don't enjoy it because I'm screaming at one child to stop climbing on the table or quit fighting between the kids. So yeah, you really kind of had me there because I don't really go out to eat anymore.
Huh?
What about you, Sam?
Here I go asking a question I don't know the answer to. I would say I'm just one of those that go to the usual spots, near where I live. So Arc Butcher and Baker is a great spot if you're looking for it. It's on the peninsula. They're actually opening one on Balboa Island, hopefully soon. But it's a great food, great people, great atmosphere. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, and Sam and I will very occasionally get to lunch. I would say maybe once a month if we're lucky. But I recently took Sam to Reunion. And
oh, yeah. Tell that story.
And so there's a couple of them. I think they have 3 or 4 locations, but they just opened one near the office recently. And I love spicy, just like not crazy spicy. But I always I love the jalapeno cream cheese peppers. I mean, like to die for. However, sometimes they leave the seeds in the jalapenos and sometimes they take them out. So every time I go, it's kind of a crapshoot of, am I going to die or is this going to be really good and I want more? And so Sam and I ordered them. He brought them out, our waiter, and I don't even think we had drinks yet.
We had a very small glass of water, like a shot of water even. And Kristen had one and looked like she was going to die. And I had one and I felt fine. And I was like, wow, Kristen's kind of acting up. And then karma immediately hit me.
It took a hot minute for it to hit you.
Yeah, karma hit me and we were like, I was afraid.
It was so hot. And mind you, we drink these shots and the guy, comes by and he's like, can I help you with anything else? I'm like, water and a Diet Coke, please. Like, trying not to relay my sense of urgency that is needed. But I think I literally drank the entire Diet Coke and water, which took about 10 minutes. Yeah. But then I went back for another one. Mm-hmm. You kind of forget how bad it was, and I had another one, and then I went through the whole process again.
You're a glutton for punishment.
Wild.
But yes, they are very good. Just make sure that on the day that you order them, that you confirm that they do not have seeds in them. All right, I have one more for you girls, you ladies, and I guess the answer could could vary a little bit between personally and professionally, but I think all three of us would probably have the same answer. But what is something that you are just not willing to compromise on?
Sleep.
Well, yeah, I have two, I'll tell you. One, I guess, is me time, which also is my sleeping time. They're kind of one and the same. I don't get a lot of time for both. And then the other one is just my integrity, who I am. I can tell you it doesn't matter if I am a soccer mom, getting caught up in this crazy competitive youth soccer, or if I am an attorney dealing with someone that may be sexist or may be not liking my age or my tone or just who I am. I am just not someone who can change who I am depending on who I'm working with. I can't be the parent that just goes with anything and everything because the coach tells me to do it. May that affect relationships down the line? Yes, it may, but I'm really just not someone who kisses up to people. I am who I am, take it or leave it. Not everybody loves it, and I'm okay with that. But I am also not someone who will stop being the type of attorney or mother or person I am because the person I'm speaking with is uncomfortable. That's their problem, not mine.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
What about you, Carrie?
Well, I was going to say similarly, at least professionally, I expect complete honesty and truth and integrity from my clients to me. Tell me the truth, let me deal with it in court. Don't let me find out when the other side brings something up that we didn't know about, and don't tell me one thing and then want to get on the stand and say something different. I'm not going to be putting up with that. I am not the attorney for you if that's how you want to proceed, because anything can be dealt with as long as we know about it before. And I'm that way in my personal life as well. Just tell me if you did something wrong as an employee. If you're my kids, and I mean, they're much older and don't come to me now that they broke something or did something, but I always said to them, it's much better to tell me it up front than lie to me and try to hide it, because the punishment's going to be worse if you lie to me.
1000%. And being blindsided as an attorney, it's not the most comfortable feeling, but not only that, we can't do our job as effectively had we known a month ago that this was likely going to come up. We may want to put out the information ourselves and have control of the narrative versus sitting at the counsel table, even with Botox, trying to pretend like we didn't just hear that. But we need full honesty with clients, with our employees, with our partners, and also just with the people that we work with. Tell me straight up.
Yeah.
And I might give you some faces or some responses, but I promise you will be a lot less than me finding out later.
Yeah. I say to employees all the time, we're all going to make a mistake. It's how we deal with it after the mistake is made. Come to me, say, I missed this deadline. What can we do? Don't try to put it under your desk and pretend.
And pray we don't find out. And some people do that, and it makes me much more frustrated. What about you, Sam?
Sleep. Sleep. I take my sleep, and those were great answers. And I know that if I dug deep, I would find something too. I think I have integrity and I'm a hard worker and all those things, but I'm real serious about my sleep, you guys. You do not want to hang out with me when I am tired and cranky.
So everyone will have to stay tuned for the next era of Sam's life at some point. When she has children, because she has no clue what is coming for her with her sleep. Now, mind you, Sam is someone who can take a 5-minute nap anywhere or everywhere. And I am the polar opposite. My mood has to be aligned with the shade. I can't have any light. All my stars have to align just for me to get 5 hours. So I am very envious of Sam's ability to just take a 5-minute nap in her car or at her desk.
Or at the Home Depot parking lot.
That is a true story.
There's a really shady tree. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to us this Saturday and every Saturday on Go Country at 8:30 a.m. Please make sure to give any of us a call if you have any further questions. Keep your emails coming. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772.
And if you are in the LA area at any point, we have a couple billboards that are up. So if you see it, tag us, let us know. We love seeing the pictures, and we just love going through this journey with everyone listening. And remember,
let love rule.